Have you ever woken up from a dream and just thought, where on earth did that come from? It almost feels like your brain leads this totally secret, bizarre life the moment you fall asleep. Well, it turns out that's kind of true. Our minds seem to operate in two completely different modes, one for when we're awake and a much, much stranger one for when we dream.
So let's just ask the question right out of the gate. Does your brain actually speak a different language when you sleep? The answer, according to some really fascinating analysis, is yes, absolutely. And if you can start to understand that language, you can unlock a whole new way of looking at how your own mind works.
All right, let's get into it. We're not talking about just random, jumbled thoughts here. The core idea is that our brain literally uses two distinct languages, and each one has its own rules, its own purpose, and its own logic, built for two totally different states of being.
Okay, so on one side you've got your waking language. This is the language of logic, of talking to people, of getting things done in the world. You know, it's structured, it's symbolic, it's designed to help us deal with everything out there. But then you've got the dreaming language. This one is built for your internal world. It's all about emotion, it's automatic, and it communicates through feelings and pictures, not neat and tidy words.
So just how different are they really? Let's put them side by side and look at the actual rules they play by, because this is where you start to see the huge gap between your day mind and your night mind.
Now this is where it gets really cool. Look at grammar. When you're awake, your brain uses syntax and semantics, the formal rules of language we all learned. But your dreaming brain? It uses metaphor and something called condensation. That's like taking a bunch of different ideas, feelings, and memories and just smashing them all together into one single powerful image. And check out executive control. Awake? It's high. You're the boss. Asleep? It's almost non-existent. The filter's off, the CEO is out of the office.
So if we boil it all down, it's like this. Waking language is a precise, logic-based code we've all learned to write and read. But dreaming language? It's way more raw. It's the direct output of our emotional state, painted in pictures that get twisted and transformed into those wild stories we remember, sometimes. And this lack of control, this raw honesty, leads to one of the most powerful ideas in this whole analysis. For all their strangeness, dreams are fundamentally honest. They cannot lie. But why? Why is that? Well, the answer is actually baked right into the architecture of our brains.
First off, we've got to realize that lying is surprisingly hard work for your brain. It's not simple. It's this complex, five-step mental gymnastic routine. You have to know what the truth is, then you have to actively decide to change it, then you have to suppress the real version, build a totally fake story, and then, and this is the tricky part, you have to constantly monitor that fake story to make sure it all holds together. It's exhausting.
And here's the punchline. The part of your brain that does all of that heavy lifting, your prefrontal cortex, the brain's CEO, is basically asleep on the job when you're dreaming. It's largely offline. So without that executive function to intentionally twist and monitor information, the very act of telling a lie becomes, well, cognitively impossible.
And this quote just nails it. A dream cannot lie about how you feel. It might show you flying away from a giant angry teapot. Now that's not logically true, right? But the feeling behind it, that feeling of wanting to escape, or maybe feeling overwhelmed by something absurd, that is 100% real. Your dreams are like a direct, uncensored report from your emotional core. They show you what you're really feeling, underneath it all.
This whole idea then zooms out and connects to a much bigger story, the evolution of our own minds. It suggests that this dreaming language isn't just some broken, weird version of our waking language. No, it's its ancient predecessor. Okay. Get this concept, because it's fundamental. Thought itself, the ability to have ideas, is a primary biological function that's been around forever. But language, the complex, structured system of words we use, that's a much more recent cultural invention. So think of it this way. Your brain's ability to think is the ancient operating system. Spoken language is like a super powerful app we installed on top of it, way, way later.
The evolution of writing gives us the perfect metaphor for this. Writing started as literal pictures of things, right? Cave paintings, hieroglyphs. Then it evolved into symbols that represented ideas. And only much later did it get to the abstract alphabetic level where symbols just represent sounds. Well, your dreaming mind operates almost entirely in those first two, ancient stages, the pictorial and the ideographic. It's only your awake, conscious mind that can fully access that final abstract alphabetic level. So where does that leave us? How do these two totally different languages fit together? Well, this is where something called the continuity theory comes in, and it gives us this really elegant, unified model for how it all works, from the deepest sleep to our most focused waking thoughts. See, the big idea here is that you don't actually have two separate minds. Instead, just picture your consciousness as one long spectrum. At one end, you have dreaming. It's unconscious, it's emotional, it's symbolic. And way over on the other end, you have waking thought, conscious, logical, and step-by-step. They're just different modes of the exact same mental field. The only real difference is the level of control and precision being applied by your brain's CEO, the prefrontal cortex.
And that leaves us with one last big question to think about. If dreams really are your mind's oldest, most honest, and totally unfiltered language, a direct line to your emotional truth, then what is your mind trying to tell you night after night?